and the Corki, two S-tier mid laners, I would have to say, together with the Hui. However, the Hui has been banned out. So it could be the case that Ucal just grabs the Corki right here into the Tristana. We have seen a lot of Talia replies into the Tristana as well. Stops her from being a little bit too aggressive in the mid lane, especially with the rocks being down.
Right.
However, the matchup we were talking about, the Nidalee versus Karthus, I'm not going to lie to you, Mazel, I was thinking it was going to be the other way around. However, seeing the Nidalee paired up with the Renekton, this is a tale as old as time.
Very, very much confidence pick here by Beichuan. Just wanting to take that away in case Jiejie wanted to steal it up. But now a couple cards played on the table here by TT, so some answers definitely coming out. Top lane matchup has been decided. We have seen Renekton go mid now with a little bit of flexibility in the draft, but we'll see if that matchup stays the same, as K'Sante is the lock-in for EDG.
I wonder if this is going to actually be something aggro, like a Brand or a Lilia potentially right here from Jiejie, because he does have the priority mid. And Brand is a very, very powerful champion. Again, especially with the changes, he's going to get locked in here. Especially with the changes with his ultimate, he's actually a pretty strong 1v1 champion as well. Because now the ultimate can bounce off of himself. Corki locked in, as we said earlier as well. And I feel like both sides, I'm not going to lie to you, Mazel, I'm loving both sides at this moment.
No,
very,
you have
very
to
much.
choose one. You can't take both home with you. You have to choose. No, I'm just joking. You can choose both. I'm sorry I got so aggressive. I think the real fact of the matter is, and speaking of the aggression point, I think what we've seen is the brand is very good at upsetting a lot of the farm jungle style that we've seen, but it's also just good at getting pressure out around the objective timings, especially the grubbies into the dragons, things like that, I think is really, really big.
Yeah, and I feel like both teams right now need to bridge the gap because they have so much range. The second anyone walks forward into a Brand, you literally get burnt down. You've got Poe coming in from Corki, Poe coming in from Nidalee. You need champions that can bridge the gap without necessarily committing too hard into these situations. Now, we have seen previously Wink play the Sejuani, which is another non-committal engage kind of champion, but it was paired up with the Senna, and Senna has been banned away from the side of TT here. So I'm wondering what else they've got in their bag, because things like Sejuani and Ornn are the two champions that come into my head. Nautilus has also been left out open, so I'm assuming it will be the choice for one of the two supports here.
I like some of the cleanup bans in the second phase, though, like some of the big engage supports, the Blitzcrank trying to upset. Wink has terrorized so many games with his Blitzcrank, so I'm glad that they respect that one a little bit. The Ezreal locked in here. We've seen it starting to rise in priority across the LPL.
Now, there's one thing that I do like about the Ezreal is that he's very self-sufficient. You can leave him in lane and actually roam. So picking up the Ezreal here on R4 and leaving as a counter pick the support pick for QQ is going to be huge. We've mentioned over and over again how having the strongest support impacts the pack so much, especially when you're going for carry versus carry in the jungle.
I like the Jinx here, though. Able to get the double marksman composition to enable a little bit of that pushing from Jiejie with the Brand, but now you have to get some frontline, you have to get some lockdown. Big pick still on the table is the Nautilus, so I do expect that one to be locked in now that Leona is also taken away. So now you're looking at TT and you're saying, Xiao, you gotta get something that can get out on the map.
No, that's not it. We talked about how we want for teams to be able to bridge the gap. However, for TT, they have so much poke and so much squishiness that they need some type of engage. The Alistar could definitely work. However, it's not going to be the easiest because you're committing a body into a Brand Nautilus Tristana, and it's going to be very difficult to get out of there alive. I'm loving what I'm seeing here, Mazel. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like both EDG and TT have very clear-cut win conditions. So much poke coming out of TT that if you get someone poked out enough, you could potentially get a flanking with Renekton and Alistar. And for EDG, it's a more of a clear-cut front-to-back composition, if you will, with a ton of damage coming from their carries.
I like it. So trying to look at how you get to second, third items for EDG, continually get Jiejie out on the map, where TT are looking all eyes on Beichuan to kind of be the super active person on their map, right?
Yeah, this is going to be the case. You need something to happen early on, especially as you said second, third item. You need something to be happening on your map so you don't give up too much. Because there is so much range on the side of TT that the second TT actually get control of these neutral objectives, it's going to be so difficult for EDG to walk through choke points.
Well, we're about to find out how this night's going to pan out. We're getting into game number 1 in Beijing. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's EDG versus TT. EDG trying to take the step up in this Group A. A 2-1 sounds a lot better than a 1-2 going to the second round. But we got aggressive jungle matchups. It's all about Jiejie versus Beichuan and how the map supports these two guys. And it's going to be the Nidalee versus the Brand all day long. We'll hopefully get the Jios going real quick, real soon, and we're off on to game 1. So we've seen...
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah?
The EDG Giles were a lot more coordinated.
Maybe a little fandom difference. I don't know. You never know. Hey, Clear Love brings a lot of fans to the table. You hear how loud... Like, the EDG is the one team that the cheers are, like, so much louder for the coach than it is for any of the players. But we are seeing the level, and we've seen this run rampant across the LPL. Level 1's late invades. Beichuan going to take half his health. Wink taking half of his, but Beichuan will be able to heal up a little bit later on.
Jiejie walks straight back in, checking if his jungle is being taken away. However, again, EDG, they do not have the range to fight right now. The spears, the Qs from Ezreal just running in, raining in rather. EDG, they're going to get spotted on the ward right here. And the lane swap is also underway for them. See, get away from an Ezreal lane
sounds
is
good.
not necessarily what you're expecting. However, the difference right here is that they want to take their Cassante away from a potential Renekton and Nidalee angle.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Hoya is actually going to be spotted out in mid lane. Also, quick congratulations to Tio on his 400th game in the LPL. Not too shabby there, joining the likes of some high numbers there, it seems. Hoya just playing around with the map right now, just probably going to go answer this top side of the map. But the more important thing is looking at these junglers, both of them moving up towards top. Jiejie did not finish out his bottom side, so he didn't get spotted on that ward down there at the red buff.
It's actually very creative what you can do in terms of vision when you know where the first ward has been placed. A lot of junglers will actually choose to start from the camp that has been warded, and it usually is around birds. The first wards go down, so if you start at your chickens, you can pretty much go anywhere. You can go to the other quadrant and come back. You can finish the quadrant and go full clear. Both of these junglers are going to end up on completely different sides on the map, but this is something that we talked about in lane. And it's very creative from TT as well, because again, Ezreal is one of the most self-sufficient AD carries. Really hard to pin down, really hard to punish and kill in the early game, and he can farm from a super, super high distance, whilst also harassing any melee champion, which in these terms is the Cassante or Solokill.
Yeah, that's why I really like that they brought Tio up to towards that top side. It's maybe a little bit wonky from what you've seen, I guess, here recently with a lot of the lane swaps, but it's a really good answer from TT. Now, we will get lanes kind of resuming to their positions, but Beichuan is looking on the top side of the map, as you said, those culminations of the clears ending up on opposite sides. So kind of ships in the night for the moment, but objectives will be coming up in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, and if you think about it, red side is a little bit more safe in terms of top lane when it comes to like diving and getting ganked. However, a Cassante that early on, it could very well be susceptible to dying. You do not have a flash, you only have a ghost. There's flash on Beichuan and Hoya, so it could be very, very completely different situation when you have that gank towards the top side of the map and you lose your Cassante early on and a lot of that pressure. So I don't mind the swap from EDG. However, calm down everyone. Swaps nowadays only last for just a couple of minutes. They only last for the first few levels. The second the solo lanes get to level 3, you see everybody pretty much forming back to the initial, more standard quote-unquote lanes.
Yeah, to be fair, we have had some ones go like 8-10 minutes, but it's few and far between, much more so than like it used to be every single game. We do want to look at lane states right now before these objectives spawn, because the thing is, in 30 seconds the dragon spawns, in 1:30 is the grubs, but it's more so about that priority in mid lane and which way teams are leaning. Cryin and Ucal, they are the center stage now to see which objective is going to be the most priority.
Yeah, and also knowing Brand, he loves doing void grabs. It's just so easy to just take them down with the champion. And Nidalee is much better taking down more single target neutral objectives in the early game. So I would assume that TT would want to start taking these dragons. Again, this is their priority in terms of neutral objectives as well when it comes to TT. We talked about how they're a very heavy poke team. They'd like to be in the neutral objectives first. So establishing control towards where they are stronger, which right now you see Wink is not in the bot lane. There's push coming through that bot. You can sneak your Nidalee down that river later on. I feel like having that poke to dissuade any situation from teams coming through choke points is going to be huge for TT. Also, getting many dragons early on means that you're going to force those fights. You're going to force EDG to walk through those choke points to fight you.
So Jiejie just finished his back, ping towards the grubs, but the fight goes on in top side. Beichuan finished his Krugs, went straight up to the top gank. He is pathing down the river now, and maybe a little bit of adaptation from Jiejie, realizing he can't just go get the free grubs.
Yeah, and you see, this would have been a whole different story if that was a level 1 to a level 2 Cassante. There was a top side of the map. However, you mentioned it. Beichuan's showing towards that top side of the map. Look at the movement coming in from the side of EDG. They've got priority mid, fully pushed lane. Their brand is already in the river. Wink is taking complete control in terms of vision, and they're going to be starting the dragon. It's a swapperoo.
It is a swapperoo, but something I think that TT is going to be pretty happy with, as it's so easy to just scoop up those grubs as the brand. We'll get a little bit of proxy farming from Hoya there with taking advantage of this side of the map. I like that EDG were able to adapt their style here, but this is where I want to talk about some of the win conditions we set out in draft. Is like that front to back is favoring EDG's length of time in this game. So they're fine trading these as long as there's no late game stacking objectives being necessarily fully thrown TT's way, where we looked at TT to be that proactive team, to have Beichuan trying to look for resources for everyone.
Yeah, you need a couple of items first, especially when you're looking at TT. We said how Ucal was going to be so pivotal in terms of unlocking Beichuan on the map to fight. However, it hasn't necessarily been the case. Again, Tristana is such a strong, potent champion when it comes to priority. Like, through her E passive, being able to shove in those waves so quickly, Corki doesn't even have time to actually trade with you, which he's very strong at, especially level 1 to level 2, because he's too busy trying to shove in the wave. Tristana is just way too good at that. And he has given a lot of priority to EDG to start taking those dragons. Again, for TT, I feel like dragons are very pivotal, actually. Yeah. Stacking them up, forcing EDG, again, to walk towards you when you have so much poke would be the ideal scenario. However, it's still fine to take those void grabs, a little bit more experience onto the Nidalee, a little bit more gold onto the Nidalee to try and funnel these items early on.
Was a path towards mid by Teoteo, but now it's really going to be where Wink and Teoteo get unlocked onto the map. Yes, Wink is going back down towards bot side to make sure Leave and him get a little bit more XP, but it's going to be the influence from these two supports that will be felt now that we're getting towards that 8-minute mark. A little bit of damage from Ucal and Cryin in the mid lane, and it's Ucal who gets priority this time.
Yeah, shoving in with all the items. Ucal's going to take priority. It's only going to mean that he gets a little bit more tempo on the map. He's going to get to reset first. Before that, Tristana is actually going to... Okay, he started resetting twice. However, he is going to stay on the map. I'm assuming there is some sort of item spike that he is looking for, and there is nothing to play on the map, honestly, right now. There are no neutral objectives. There are no waves being built up for dives, so staying on the map, I guess, is quite safe for him. He has the control ward. He's going to spot Wink on it as well, but he also has his support moving towards that mid lane. Gonna get that cannon wave, and I'm wondering what actually is gonna end up in his inventory, like how much gold he has in terms of understanding why he stayed behind for that one.
Ooh, nice little re-engage there. Jiejie is just looking for the pyroclasm onto them. They're gonna get it. Teoteo looking to go down and carved up into burgers. First blood for EDG.
So that reset we're talking about, maybe it wasn't that bad of an idea. I'm not gonna lie to you. committing support right there and falling prey to EDG, and especially the kill going towards Brand and pulling up ahead when you've got such an aggro jungler like Nidalee that likes to take those fights early on. It's going to be a little bit dicey right now, especially when you have first item coming through for Brand. It's going to be so difficult fighting around objectives, especially around grabs, where the ult can bounce up a lot more times. And that was a very, very nice hook from Wing. Jiejie is around as well. You see that Beichuan is nowhere to be found on the map. He was towards the top side. He was just resetting, coming back up. So great find right there from EDG to just punish Alistar being a little bit too far forward.
We said Jojo was trying to get onto the map, trying to be active. Well, that's not the activity you necessarily
Hey, he was
want.
covering for the no reset mid. This is the sin supports have to pay for the solo laners.
It is. The sacrifice is real. He has hit level 6, so now next time it'll be a little bit harder for people to kill him. I do want to take a look at the map, though, because we have a readaptation from the EDG. They're bringing Leave up towards top side. Jiejie will also be on this side of the map clearing, so they'll have a lot of presence up here, and especially with the next round of grubs, it's all expected.
I'm just going to redirect everyone's eyes to Jiejie's inventory. Liandry's has already been completed. Such a potent, strong first item for this particular champion. We just mentioned how around Void grabs, Brand wants to fight. However, TT are so quick. Solokill is down bot lane. Doesn't have TP. He shows on the wave. TT know that they have numbers advantage.
I'm honestly wondering why EDG felt so hesitant to move in through their own jungle there. They end up bringing all three around through top side. They'll get one grub, but it's pity prizes here. TT made the move, and they got the execution.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie right now. I think they can make a beeline towards that dragon as well, towards that bot side. You see the bot lane is already moving towards that bot side of the map. Jiejie is just going to take one Void grab, and I'm like, that was very, very slow indeed, Mazel, from EDG. They have the brute force with the Brand. They had the bot lane going towards the top side of the map first. However, the priority was to shove in that wave in the top lane and then deep into the river. And TT, seeing Solokill down bot lane without that TP, they knew they had the numbers advantage to sneak in, take the buff, and sneak out.
I think Cryin also is a huge damage source for EDG, and they didn't feel super confident with him not having the same entrance as the rest of the team too. He did get Kraken Slayer. We are getting, items completions across the board. We got the Lich Bane now complete for Beichuan, so he'll be a little bit more active too. But 2 minutes until a Rift Herald spawns at the top side of the map. Dragon still available. EDG have some presence around it. Looks like Jiejie is going to start that one up.
And that is really good for EDG, again, settling on a win condition, which is going to be stacking up the dragons. Cryin is actually super respecting the fact that he knows his entire team is towards the bot side. They're actually going to tempo TP towards the bot side, trying to potentially take the first tower. This might be a fight on who takes the first tower first. Nidalee Renekton versus Tristana. 3-tower platings I'm seeing still on the bot side of the map. It's not even going to be a race.
It's maybe a hare and the tortoise style situation. I don't know. Maybe just take a little bit of time. They just took their turret really fast. They're really fast eaters. We will see a lot of time down towards this. Okay, I was going to say, are they just going to let this go down here? No! Oh, Leave! Caught window shopping with the best of them. He really wanted that IE, didn't he?
Oh, I feel like this was the greed. This was the greed. It was like, even if they spot me, I can still go. Gets caught up in the CC from Alistar, ends up going down. That's actually huge. I mean, again, not much in terms of map presence right here. However, Brand, this was the wave that Jinx would typically catch up on, and Brand would be doing top side. So these are the very small things in terms of tempo that you can really lose when you lose one member off of the map. That would have been Jinx's wave, so he gets more experience and gold through that. Brand gets to reset earlier, gets to be on the map early. Now it's a little bit delayed. So all of these things can very slowly snowball. However, again, a pretty decisive start for TT. They have had pretty clean and early and good early games. You do have a kill onto the Corki, double Trinity Force already completed. This is a pretty good start for your Poke champions. You've got Lich Bane, as you mentioned as well, Mazel, onto your Nidalee. So Poke is going to start to slowly but surely start hurting. Yeah. However, TT have not been the greatest at understanding how to snowball and how to teamfight. They usually get caught up in choke points. They get caught up in the jungle. Let's see if this time around they can use a little bit more vision control, be first in the neutral objectives, and use their Poke to dictate these fights.
Quote one of my favorite shows, they're entering the danger zone. We'll see if they can actually navigate the mid game that has been so troublesome for them here in recency. But they have the comp to do it if they can keep it to their strengths. I think they need to utilize their item spikes. And even this first item spike, I think, is pretty strong with the double Trinity Force completed. But it seems like they're really willing to sneak away objectives, continue farming. And I want to gauge your thought process on that, because we've said the whole time, EDG just want to get to like 3 items. That is like the golden hour for them if they can get to that point. And TT seem to be okay giving that to them.
Yeah, however, I feel like TT are also very strong on 2 to 3 items. Ezreal starts hurting. Corki definitely starts hurting. He's one of the more heavy-hitting AD champions in the mid lane right now. And of course, Nidalee, the more AP you have on those spears, the more they're going to hurt. Of course, hitting things like Nautilus and Cassante is not going to be your ideal targets. However, going towards Jinx, Tristana, and Brand, this could be very pivotal. Again, it's not necessarily about TT killing their opponents. It's about poking them enough that you possibly force a reset TP, that you possibly force a reset on a champion that doesn't have a TP, and then you've got the numbers advantage. So far, TT have been heavily relying on gauging what's happening on the map, taking the numbers advantage and sneaking in objectives, which has been to their favor. However, EDG have been stacking up those dragons, which will force, one way or the other, TT's hand in trying to contest for soul point.
And I think giving a little bit of light to TT's tries, I guess, in this split, it has been built around a core that has been together for 2 years, right? Beichuan and Ucal have both been the centerpieces for TT for 2 years, which is actually insane to me when we haven't seen TT be able to break into that top 10 in recency, at least. And this split, it seemed like it was going to have some turnarounds. We saw some struggles there, maybe a little bit of revolving door in bot lane, but this is the duo that needs to be on point. We need to see them have some execution in these next fights, because EDG are just going to group up and they're going to look for their front to back all day.
Very, very clever right here from EDG. They see supporter was the top side of the map. That was instantly their trigger. They've got double 80 carries on their hands. Jinx plus Tristana, they eat those towers alive. Mid lane tier 1 going down versus a very, very squishy team like TT could be huge to take control on the map in terms of vision. However, TT still have that rift. They're going to use it mid, try to put some pressure down to possibly bleed it into a dragon contest.
They have the 5 grubs, makes this siege a little bit easier, but the thing is, on the other side, you got a Jinx and a Tristana with a Brand. I think wave clear is going to be just peachy for them. Maybe even a little bit of iced tea with that. I got the laugh. That's all that matters.
That is indeed going to be the case. EDG gonna take some quick resets on the map. Okay.
Confidence ult, you know,
using
confidence
his.
ult?
Listen. If 1xn can use his ultimate to wave clear, so can Leave. It's about establishing dominance on this damn map, okay?
Global for global. Go trade, I guess. Cryan's always taking this, but doesn't want to bite off a little bit more, though, because the rest of TT were hovering. Looks like that tower will not fall just yet, but I expect some more coverage around bot side because Dragon is spawning. It would be a 3rd in a row for EDG, and TT needs to defend that.
I'm very worried right here because, again, Alistar's towards the top side of the map when Dragon has already literally spawned, and this is going to be soul point for the side of EDG. Mind you, this is going to be an Ocean Soul versus a poke team. EDG take those any single time of the day. However, having Cryin towards the top side of the map and having to TP your Tristana in, they didn't feel confident enough to actually take control of that bot side river, and TT has sort of established a little bit of vision in it. I feel like both teams seem a little bit indecisive in terms of just walking in with raw numbers, and I feel like it has hurt EDG more than it has TT because they have lost a bunch of fights that they were favorable for, especially in terms of fight and breakpoints.
And I think the hesitance right now for EDG around this Dragon is TT literally have the perfect comp to fight over Dragon if you're there first, right? They literally have a giant wall
they weren't
separating. They were kind of in position, but they literally have that death wall that's right in front of the Dragon Pit to throw all the spears, all the mystic shots, all the rockets over, and they can play from safety. Now we see some of that pressure given, and EDG will approach from the top side.
They do still have 3 members around, and Beichuan could maybe look to try and steal. It's just going to be spectator mode right
That's a
here.
tempo dragon right there. They just said, TT, you're lacking. I'm going to take it.
I mean, EDG, again, they're gauging the map, and they're taking control in terms of numbers all around. The star's going to go down. Solokill the Ghost. He's getting out of dodge instantly.
Pretty speedy. Actually looks like a little bit of distraction down there. They were trying to maybe collapse on a solo kill, weren't able to get it. EDG was moving up towards top side, so resets come out. EDG go to Soul Point and get a Phantom Dancer on lead.
Listen, Mazel, 19 minutes in, 2 kills, hashtag not my LPL.
Yeah, you know, I ain't a big fan of it either, but you know, here, this is the LPL we
I'm
get,
like,
all right? But I will
You know
say...
what? I get needly nectin. I'm like, surely there's going to be some action towards the top side. They lane swap. I'm like, it's fine. Needle is just going to find Brad in his jungle. It never happened. I'm like, it's fine. Surely they're going to find for Soul Point, right? No, they're not.
I still think, though, there's been some really interesting dynamics in terms of strategies and approach in this, and I think TT have fallen short in a couple of them, but the looks have been really interesting. EDG have just like slowly crept up through the game, and even though there's been no real big CS differentials, it just feels like control of the map with their team fight composition has been wrestled.
Yeah, I feel like decisiveness has come through decision making when it comes to EDG. Taking more of a lead in the game, taking that mid lane tower when they see numbers advantage, sneaking in and taking 3 dragons in a row, knowing that they're going to be forcing TT to fight them in literally 3 minutes and 20 seconds time from now. And this is what I'm looking for. In 3 minutes, I need TT to take some control of that bot lane. However, you've got Brand, you've got Tristana, and you've got Jinx on the side of EDG. If you show up with this dragon, I'm pretty sure that a Baron can melt down real quickly on the other side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the Navori Flicker Blade now for Cryin as well. The Rally is a big power boost for the brand already unlocked for Jiejie. Now we are getting the second items for carries on TT's side in Ucal and 1xN. That'll be really important to kind of keep an eye on, but it's about where you can get this damage in, and I think counting in between fights is the most important thing for TT.
Yeah, and Beichuan is really looking to complete the Shadow Flame as well, has the 2 components in his inventory. Power farming towards it. He should be able to complete it before the next dragon comes up for grabs right here. TT, that mid lane tower is so again important for taking that vision away from your enemies. Only 3 members of TT around, of EDG around, but you mentioned it, the wave clear is so freakishly good from the side of EDG that TT are gonna have to take a member down on the map, or make sure that at least they're not in the vicinity to be able to take that mid lane tier 1 down.
And the reason why you're seeing TT try again at getting this tier 1, it enables EDG's comp so well. You have a base to operate out of with your flying carries and Cryin and leave, and it makes it so easy to move to either side objective every time they need to. And EDG are just hovering around this Baron side.
Yeah, absolutely. It also makes it so scary. If EDG lose that mid lane tower, all the skill shots, that's the word I was looking for. All the skill shots coming in from Ezreal, Corki, Needly Spears, coming through Fog of War around your jungle when you're trying to push in that mid lane wave. It's going to be very scary for any carry of EDG to walk up and try to shove in that wave. Now, 1 minute and 17, and as you can see, EDG are threatening Baron. They're towards the top of the map, they're shoving in this wave, there is TP on Cryin to join if there is a fight to break out towards that dragon. He's gonna make sure he takes down that tower with him as well. This is pretty good movement from EDG. Again, their win versus FPX was not fast, but it was clean, it was slow, and it was calculated. And so far, this is what EDG's gameplay has been.
We're gonna get a double play on the bot side. Ucal gets out the Valkyrie. Cryin getting the angle here, though. Ucal's not able to get out of that one, and that's 500 gold going over to Solokill.
And that's 41 seconds of a death timer and 33 on the timer for the next dragon. It's going to be Soul for EDG.
Oof, that's so
Getting that sweet healing when there's a poke composition on the other side of the reef feels really good.
We just talked about this guy being a pillar, and EDG know how to crack some pillars out from under them.
Yeah, Ucal pushes a little bit too far forward. Again, there is absolutely zero vision towards that bot side of the map. And you should expect, you don't see anyone from EDG, you should expect that there's a reset to try and take control to establish some vision for that soul for EDG. You cannot underestimate that pressure towards the bottom map. Ucal misstep. They might have to pull a Hail Mary here for that Baron because they've got nothing else going on for them on the map.
Why not, I guess. It's burning pretty heavily. They do have a lot of damage themselves, having a double marksman comp of some sorts. Now, Solokill has a really beautiful angle here at the Cassante, but the Baron already gone to TT. Now they just need to get out. Chocho got to give his life over there, and it's fine if you can make it out with 4 purple capes and TT make their own tempo play.
All right, they're going to take the Baron right here. That was the fastest shot calling I've seen from TT today, because so far it's been quite slow trying to reply towards EDG. However, 4 members on the map only for TT, and the only member that can threaten any sort of type of engage is dead for another 5 seconds. So EDG, doesn't matter whether there's Baron on TT members, they're gonna take those waves, push them in. You could say this is a reverse Baron power play. This time it's enabled by EDG.
Problem with TT is they don't have a lot of wave clear. They have a lot of single target damage, but they'll be able to poke some of their way out with the Baron buff here and survive under their tier 2. Tilto is re-enabled onto the map. You got a TP coming to mid lane there from 1xN just to try to get as much from this Baron buff as they possibly can. You got 2 minutes.
The mid lane tower, Mazel.
It's
finally that
going
mid lane
down.
tower. The tempo
Cryin
TP. Yeah, the tempo TP into finally that mid lane tower that should have been down ages ago from the side of TT, and slowly but surely, I mean, this is a 1.1k gold power play from TT, but this is pretty much almost as much as you get from the Baron itself. An entire tower went down mid lane tier 2 for EDG, and again, slow and steady wins the race for them. EDG have been slowly creeping up their vision deeper and deeper into enemy territory. And as you can see, it's just very dangerous to walk up if you're TT. Hoya has walked up.
Devious. That Solokill just TP'd to under the turret there. Now they've completely surrounded the Croc. Here comes the depth charge into the river, and that's it. The Croc no longer has an environment to live in.
Again, numbers advantage on the map for EDG. They punish anyone who well, I can't even call it overextending, man. He was literally almost underneath his tower. Like, I can't even blame Hoya right there.
So smurf, man. Like, that is so insane. And
He's like, oh, my top player overextended. He was under his tower.
They're going to just snowball this straight into the turrets too, because they have this Tristana Brand combo. You can do so much damage from standing off turret with Brand. It gets so difficult. They've snowballed into mid lane too, and EDG are using their grouped comp so well. We set it out for them from the beginning, and that poke is not strong enough to defy.
And especially when you've got waves upon waves hitting underneath your tower, you've got 0 wave clear, you've got 0 angles of hitting your skill shots with so many creeps, blocking line of sight between you and the champions that you're looking for. It becomes so difficult. Again, we said for TT, they need to be first in objectives. Guess what? They've lost 4 in a row, which are the Dragons. Sol has gone over to EDG. You know what Sol is? The one that's healing you every single time. So all the poke, if any, manages to land on the side of EDG, a lot of it's going to be healed back up from the Soul. And TT are in a very difficult situation right here. 2.5 minutes until Baron and 2:20 until the Elder Dragon.
Yeah.
However, you cannot very easily move out of your base because majority of your vision through towers has been taken away by EDG. And again, it becomes a little bit difficult. You don't have a lot of flank wards for Hoya. You don't have a lot of angles you can engage. If you're Alistar is a very straightforward champion, and with the range on EDG, it's just very easy to just stay behind your tanks and wait.
Yeah, and I think another, well, I guess I'll save my little story time here, as EDG is going to look for a dive under turret potentially, but just trying to get this turret down using the one grub that they took early on to help them try to take it, but it's going to be a little difficult. Another wave coming in. TT moving around the other side. The engage comes through. TT have maybe been caught a little bit here. but now they're going to take the engage. Shelter goes for the double, but Solokill had already got over the turret. Hoya takes one down. Cryin is jumping in, and the man of the hour is unleashed here. Buster shot's not going to be enough, but he's about to get reset city on those rocket jumps. He wants to go for a little bit more, but it's Hoya that has set the different pace of this fight. He was able to solo down the side fight here as Solokill had fallen.
Oh, the TP?
And now TT are circling around like sharks. The blue helping them, but they aren't going to take the play here. They just want the vision over the dragon pit. A minute till Elder spawns.
Especially when your Nidalee is down. You don't have smite on the map. It's not like any of the objectives are going to come back up, but you want to be establishing some vision. And I think this is as good as it could get from TT. In this particular scenario, you get a couple of kills down. You get most of these kills onto your carries that you really needed as well, the Ezreal and the Corki. And let's watch this again. That was a very, very nice hook from Wink onto Beichuan's Nidalee. And instantly the tower dies, which means a lot of that damage is no longer applying onto the Nautilus. Then you see the ultimate onto Ucal. However, what's happening on the right side is winning for EDG. What's happening on the left side of on your screen is winning by TT. TT were able to isolate a couple of targets and take them down together with Ezreal jumping through the wall and Renekton flanking together with the Alistar as well. So it was a pretty good darn effort. Is it too little too late? Might be. However, it has established them some control in this Dragon area.
Yeah, we have some big items being completed, though. We just got an item spike there for Cryin on a Bloodthirster. EDG's going to move in, but this might be a good setup for TT. They have a man on the other side. They also have all this poke. It's about landing it, though. Elder is burning. They've got to be really careful because EDG burns this so fast. Hoya on the other side. He's not been seen yet. Here comes Chocho. He made the difference in the last fight. Maybe he makes it here. Big flash in. 1x on the other side is full firing. Hoya's going to go down, though. You're starting to lose your front line. You're starting to lose your attrition here from TT. They've got to try to make it happen here on the Elder, but Solokill wants to body block. Beichuan, don't get distracted. It's going to be the Elder going the way of EDG, and they're going to secure this game number 1. A couple Elder flaps, and that's it.
It's not going to be the end yet. However, Elder Dragon goes EDG's way. They're pinging the Baron as well. They do have a tank plus brand, and I feel like 1xN taking down that last remaining member. I think it was Cryin, if I'm not wrong. Right at the end, it might have been Leave as well. One of the 280 carries is huge because I feel like if he hadn't done that, the game would have been over right there and then. And as you can see, it looked pretty good for TT. I think 1xN has a pretty good angle on the side to poke down, and he was putting numbers. If you look at the damage meter, he was putting down so much hurt onto EDG. However, we mentioned that the second your Alistar goes down, you lose your entire front line. You cannot walk up. Your Renekton is dead. Your Alistar is dead. All you have is range. And as you can see, 1xN with the last effort right there to take down Leave, it was actually take down that Jinx to ensure that you've got a few more minutes to fight if you're TT in this game.
3-4 items completed now across the board for EDG. Can be very, very difficult because their composition thrives in those big 5-on-5s. You got to find little minute outplays for TT and a lot of the poke that'll be coming through. And that's the difficult thing, because I think the shining star of this one, not only did we put spotlight on Jiejie, but it's been Cryin. And I think Cryin on the Tristana has put so much pressure on Ucal from the beginning in laning phase. A guy you might know from RNG fame, but he spent the last year or so on IG not having a great time. It's been really nice to see him come into EDG here in summer and have a bit of a resurgence, nay, a renaissance.
And you mentioned the Bloodthirster right before the previous fight started, and I think it was pretty much a Bloodthirster diff. The fact that Cryin managed to survive through that with everything thrown at him onto that Tristana. Now, we have 2 waves synced up for the side of EDG. Obviously, the top one cannot be called a wave yet. The second one is going to be reaching soon, but they do have that Baron up ability through the buff of taking down Baron, and they will have a little bit of that Elder Dragon left for another 10 seconds, which means TT. They just need to be spectators for 10 more seconds.
Dredgeline gonna go wide there. Chocho getting caught out, though. He can't get away with the slow there. Burns his flash. Inhib in mid lane will be the next focus. They've already gotten the one in top lane. Engage goes through onto Beichuan. There's the re-engage from Toto. He's going unbreakable. Big true shot barrage, but now Leave is getting real excited. And if you're an EDG fan, you're going to be just as excited as them. One by one, TT are taken out at 5 strong from EDG. We'll move on to the last 2 turrets, and that's TT falling in game 1 as EDG rise to the occasion. They want Ucal one more time. They won't get him, but that's it.
And again, this victory is so important for EDG. I want to reiterate, they have already beaten FPX in a group where FPX is supposed to make it out of. Beating TT here really puts them a step forward into making it out. And it wasn't the most exciting game. However, the decision making of taking the Cassante away from the Trouble, stabilizing the map through that, pathing away from the Nidalee in the jungle, taking every single dragon and allowing the Void grabs to go to the side of the Nidalee, getting completely uncontested and taking that mid lane tower, seeing the numbers advantage all around the map. EDG have been very clean. Slow, but very clean.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference maker, is that it's always TT getting out in front, finding strengths early, and then falling apart mid to late game. We saw a little bit of that here. See if they can clean it up.